Somewhere in the darkness above Earth, there may be an answer to a question we rarely dare to ask. What if humanity is not the main character of its own story? What if our oceans, forests, bacteria, dinosaurs, cities, wars, satellites, and artificial intelligence are part of a long-running experiment watched by minds far older than ours? Not a computer simulation, not a dream, not a secret invasion. Something stranger. A real planet with real evolution, real suffering, real choices, but inside conditions that were selected, protected, or even deliberately arranged by an advanced civilization. It sounds like science fiction, and it should be treated with caution. There is no evidence that alien life has visited Earth, no confirmed signal from another civilization, and no scientific proof that our planet was designed as a laboratory. But the question is still useful, because it forces us to look at the universe from the outside. To us, Earth feels enormous. It contains every home, language, empire, species, and story we have ever known. But from space, it is a small, wet rock orbiting an ordinary star, in one spiral arm of a galaxy with hundreds of billions of other stars. The strange thing is not that alien life might exist somewhere. The strange thing is that, so far, the sky is silent. This is the heart of the Fermi paradox. If the universe is old, and if planets are common, and if life can sometimes become intelligent, then where is everybody? Some stars are billions of years older than the sun. A civilization that began even 1,000,000 years before us could be unimaginably advanced. It might have crossed the galaxy, built machines around stars, or filled space with signals. Yet we do not see clear evidence of anyone. One answer is simple. Maybe intelligent life is extremely rare. Maybe civilizations destroy themselves before they can spread. But there is another possibility, more unsettling and more elegant. Maybe they are there, and they are choosing not to contact us. This is often called the zoo hypothesis. The idea is that advanced civilizations might avoid interfering with younger worlds, the way scientists avoid disturbing a protected ecosystem. A biologist studying animals in the wild does not walk into the middle of the group and start teaching them physics. The point is to observe natural behavior. The moment the observer becomes visible, the experiment changes. If such a rule existed on a cosmic scale, Earth might not be ignored. It might be quarantined, protected, hidden, and watched through instruments we cannot detect. One open signal from an older civilization could rewrite every religion, every government, every scientific priority, and every human sense of meaning overnight. That does not mean it is true. But as a thought experiment, it is powerful. Because if humans discovered a young planet with primitive life, what would we do? We would be fascinated. We would send telescopes, probes, maybe tiny automated spacecraft. Some people would argue that we have a duty to help. Others would argue that contact could destroy the planet's natural development. A single piece of advanced technology could become a weapon. A single message could collapse their myths, economies, or social order. Now scale that idea up. Earth has been running for about 4.5 billion years. Life appears to have emerged early in the planet's history, but for most of that time, it was microscopic. Complex animals arrived much later. Dinosaurs ruled for over 160 million years, vanished after an asteroid impact, and mammals expanded into the open space they left behind. Humans, with cities, writing, radio, rockets, and computers, are a very recent event. From the perspective of a civilization that can survive for millions of years, human history would be a brief flicker. The entire age of radio communication is barely more than a century old. Nuclear weapons are less than a century old. Spaceflight is younger still. Modern artificial intelligence is younger than many people alive today. If someone were studying planets, this might be the most interesting moment. Not the age of dinosaurs, not the first forests, not even the rise of humans. The real experiment might begin when a species becomes powerful enough to change its own planet. Because intelligence is not automatically wisdom. A species can split the atom before it learns how to manage fear. It can build global networks before it learns how to handle truth. It can alter the climate before it fully understands the consequences. It can create machines that think before it agrees on what thinking even means. Maybe the great filter is not the birth of life. Maybe it is the transition from clever animals to responsible planetary managers. This is where the Earth as a laboratory idea becomes more than a spooky alien story. It becomes a mirror. If our planet were an experiment, what would the researchers be testing? They might not care about our kings, borders, flags, or celebrities. They might care about patterns, cooperation versus violence, curiosity versus denial, long-term survival versus short-term reward. There is another idea connected to this, called panspermia. In its basic scientific form, panspermia suggests that life, or the ingredients for life, could travel between worlds on rocks, comets, or dust. Meteorites can move material between planets, and organic molecules associated with life can exist in space. This does not prove that life on Earth came from elsewhere, and it certainly does not prove that aliens planted it. But it expands the question. Life may not always begin in one isolated place. Sometimes worlds may exchange chemistry. That is why the honest answer matters. We do not know. We have hypotheses, evidence about chemistry and habitability, and many unanswered questions. But uncertainty is not the same as proof of aliens. A gap in knowledge is not a doorway through which any story can walk in and claim to be true. Still, there is a reason this idea grips the imagination. The laboratory hypothesis changes the emotional shape of existence. A simulation makes reality feel unreal. A cosmic laboratory makes reality feel watched. But perhaps the observers would not explain themselves. They might not see us as equals yet. Not because they are cruel, but because equality between civilizations may require more than intelligence. It may require stability, restraint, and the ability to survive contact without losing yourself. A human child can be brilliant and still not be ready to drive a car. A young civilization can be inventive and still not be ready to join a galaxy. So maybe the silence is not rejection. Maybe it is a test. Or maybe it is mercy. There is also a darker version. What if the experiment has an endpoint? What if the observers are not waiting for us to build a spaceship, but to reach a threshold? Nuclear power, climate disruption, artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, self-replicating machines. Tools that can either lift a species into maturity or erase it from the record. A laboratory does not always exist to save the subject. Sometimes it exists to discover what happens. That thought is uncomfortable because it removes our favorite escape hatch. We like to believe that if the universe contains older, wiser beings, they might rescue us from ourselves. They might stop wars, heal the climate, cure disease, or teach us how to live. But if Earth is being observed under a rule of non-interference, then no one is coming to take the steering wheel. And maybe that is the point. Whether aliens exist or not, whether Earth is watched or not, the situation from our point of view is the same. We are a young technological species on a rare living planet, holding powers that our ancestors would have mistaken for magic. We can map genomes, split atoms, land robots on Mars, detect planets around distant stars, and build machines that speak like people. At the same time, we are still tribal, emotional, impatient, and easily fooled. The cosmic laboratory idea may never be proven. It may simply remain a haunting story we tell ourselves under a silent sky. But the best thought experiments do not only ask whether they are true, they ask what becomes visible when we take them seriously for a moment. And what becomes visible is this. If someone is watching us, the most important signal we send may not be a radio message. It may be our behavior, how we treat the planet, how we handle power, how we respond to knowledge, how we protect life when no one forces us to, how we act when there is no parent civilization stepping in to stop the experiment. Maybe Earth is not a laboratory. Maybe there are no observers behind the dark. Maybe life here is the result of chemistry, time, chance, and evolution, unfolding without an audience. But if that is true, the conclusion is not smaller, it is larger. Because then we are not test subjects. We are the only witnesses we know of. The universe opened its eyes here, through us, and for a little while, it can ask what it is. If no one is watching from above, then the responsibility does not disappear. It becomes ours, completely. The most unsettling question is not whether aliens made us. It is whether, after everything the universe has given us, we can become the kind of civilization worth discovering.
Thanks for watching! If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. See you in the next one!